Hey guys, welcome back to the Roar Report podcast. I'm Abbie.
I'm Gordon.
I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Jake.
Today we are here with Toney. He works with me at Creative Solutions as one of our videographers. So Toney, if you want to give them a quick intro, your background, exactly what you do.
Okay. Hi, my name is Toney Black. I'm a graduate assistant here at Clemson University. I am a videographer with Clemson Athletics. I'm the head videographer of men's and women's soccer, men's and women's tennis, women's basketball, and rowing. And I kind of just piece in wherever else I'm needed. I am in charge of creating highlights, storytelling, um, the videos that go on the video board, if it applies to that sport. I have 5 students that I'm in charge of. Abbie is one of them. And basically that's a kind of like a managerial role where I kind of oversee and help as needed when it comes to video production and things of that nature. I started here in August. Previously came from Lenore-Ryan University, small D2, played football there. Started shooting other sports while I was still playing. Self-taught on photo and video. And now I'm here because I applied and I got the job. So
Do you have a
glad to be
favorite
here.
sport that you work with here at Clemson?
Um, I wouldn't say I have a favorite. I feel like all of them provide different, they're all through kind of different lenses. And so they kind of have a lot of different varying sizes of like courts and fields. Um, and so each sport kind of provides like a different perspective. And I think that's something that's, very important to me, that contrast of, filming one sport and taking what you've learned from that one sport and bringing that over to the other. So for sure.
Well, our two main topics today are commercialization of sport and the weaponization of emotion in sport. So we have a few questions for you about that topic and how that relates to what you do. So my first question is, as someone who does video and edits video, how do you think media, like the content creation, making video for both social and then other things like Clemson Plus, how do you think that shapes the way sports are marketed to fans?
Well, our job is to sell an experience. Without the athletics, we don't have a job. And the main purpose of what we do as sports videographers is to tell a story. Um, and that is what sells tickets. At the end of the day, that is the main goal of marketing and publicity and communications is to sell tickets. Um, you know, uh, Originally it was made for recruiting, but recruiting is made for to get better players. The better players, the more wins. The more wins, the more money in your pocket. And so I don't know if that really answers your question. But the purpose of our job is to get fans and seats, and so that.
My second question is more so about like the emotion in sport. And since you actually like played football, you might be able to also touch on like some of um the emotion side of like the athletes. But I was wondering, like, whenever we're making videos, specifically videos that might mention like struggles an athlete's having, um, do you feel that making videos about that is something that can help fans connect with those athletes more? Or do you think that's something that could also exploit their emotions? Or do you think it might be a combination of both?
I think that when you sign up to play college athletics, that being on video, the good, the bad, the ugly, is all part of it. Um, and I feel like that's not something that's really talked about when you're, going through your signing process. Is that at the end of the day, Clemson is a business. All college athletics is a business, and part of being part of the overall machine um, is that you're not always going to have the wins. You're not always going to be in the right place that you want to be. And I feel like those are great moments to share when you do win, and you do get the ring and the trophy. But the other side of it is, you do have to share the moments of vulnerability. Um, Stories is what sells. Emotions is what sells. And so at times it doesn't seem right to film someone when they're down. But in the same aspect, the flip side of that being you're filming when they're up, and all of that is part of the story. And so, uh, as a former athlete myself, uh, that's just part of it. The cameras are part of what gets fans in seats. It provides an experience that the average fan just isn't going to get, and so that's what I have to say about that.
Do you think whenever you're making like videos or planning out a video, is there a certain way that you balance like the authenticity of like just showing the moment, showing like the raw emotion and stuff, but also like storytelling within your videos, like having a certain story or like a narrative that we're trying to get across?
Well, that comes to planning. When you're going into filming an event, you have to know there's two outcomes: either they're going to win or they're going to lose. Um, and so when you're filming, you have to keep that in mind, that regardless of how it goes, the footage is vital. That is your job at the end of the day, is to get the footage. Um, yeah, can you go back into the question a little bit more?
Yeah. So the question was, how do you balance authenticity and storytelling when creating a video?
Oh yeah, that's a little bit more of the process. Um, and so when you're going into the edit, um, you always have to go in knowing, one, either they're going to win or they're going to lose, and two, how are you going to be able to tell a story in a way that, one, satisfies the athletes and the coaches, and two, satisfies the consumers, whether that be media outlets, people at home, the athletes' families. Um, these are all things that you do have to keep in mind.
Going on, Tony?
How you doing?
So, one question I have is like for the content that you're trying to capture, I guess, like do you try to edit or capture the videos in a way that will evoke emotions out of fans? Or at least like in your position, do you tell the people underneath you to do that?
I think it kind of comes down to what you're trying to accomplish. If you're just going to film highlights, it's very straightforward. If you're looking to do like a cinematic recap where you're looking at a longer piece, that's when you do want to have different people doing different jobs. And so if I have a team of 4 students working for an event, I have some students in the stands shooting fan reactions. I'll have a student focused mainly on the bench and the coach. And then I'll have a person working primarily offense and primarily defense. And so when you're thinking about how you're going to portray emotion, um, those are kind of some of the things that go into mind when you're building out your team and what you're looking for. And then you just kind of take the footage. You would already have like an idea in mind of where you're going, and then adjusting from there.
It's cool. And then to follow up on that, do you notice more engagement on posts that are sort of centered more towards the emotional side and like I guess trying to get fans fired up?
When it comes to posting content, um, emotions are always going to do pretty well, whether that's good or bad. Emotions are what's going to tie people to your piece of social content. So I think that, but then crazy highlights also do, really good numbers, and that's more so of this the speed that you can get them out. So say we have a women's basketball game, and somebody dunks the ball. That would be something that you would want to get out right after the game. If you have an in-game editor, that's something that you want to push out immediately. Whereas the emotional pieces, you can take a little bit more time to kind of produce.
Hey, what's up, Tony? Thanks for
Jake
joining us.
W, what's going on?
What's up? So you said you were a former athlete, and obviously you kind of work on the other side now. And you mentioned that you have to please like coaches, families, athletes, plus the audience, and you need to connect emotions and everything to your storytelling. Do you have an example maybe of where the media took something too far to where it kind of triggered one of those audiences? And if you do, kind of explain it a little, I guess. Or maybe they took something out of context where like one of your teammates did something
Well,
along those lines.
I feel like as a staff here at Clemson, I think that we try to kind of stray away from that.
Yeah.
One example that does come to mind, I sat in on the football creative staff meeting today, and one of the players had DM'd the account and said, "Hey, can you take a photo of me down? I just didn't like how my face looked." And that's more so some of the cases. But you really don't have to be too concerned about that because um, we have SIDs, and their job is to be the connection between the internal staff and the outside world. And so normally, as you kind of are putting your content together and you push it, and you not push it, but as you create your content, we're not the ones that are pushing the buttons on Instagram. We just make the videos, and from there, that's more of the SID's job to kind of catch. Um, and vice versa, even with coming up with storytelling and storylines. You reach out to the SID and they say, "Hey, you have certain milestones coming up," or someone's family's in town that hasn't been here in a while, and so that's when you would lean on them.
I was gonna say, like, along with that, like for me personally, when I make a video, I mean, I can get nervous sometimes, like if I post this, will it make like an athlete mad? Because I'll talk to the rowers and they're like, hey, can you make sure my face like looks normal in this video before you post it and that kind of thing. But most of the time when we're posting videos, like I have to send it to you, Tony, first. You watch it, then we send it to the SID. So it goes through like multiple people before the audience even sees it.
Hi, Tony. I have a question. I know that you work with actually producing the videos and editing them and doing the film, but obviously in doing that, you are looking for some sort of emotional response from the audience, from the fans. Do you ever see situations where that response is kind of more so on the negative side? Like when you draw out emotion from fans and from the audience, is there ever times where maybe it's not so positive and they get too attached or have too many opinions that might actually be detrimental to the athletes?
I can't say that I've seen that personally. I know that there has been content that's been put out by Clemson before that has had negative reactions to it. Um, but I haven't seen it personally. It really does go through a lot of eyes before it goes out to the public, and I think that's extremely helpful in dodging case scenarios like that. So I wish I could be more of help, but unfortunately I am not.
No, that's great. And just to follow up on that, when you guys are doing video and filming, do you are you told by coaches or by other people on the inside who to focus on? Is there some times where you have to put more attention on an individual, maybe because of a storyline that's trending with them?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know because I worked extremely close with women's basketball, and Abby can tell you that she's worked extremely close with rowing. Um, you do get pulled to the side by if it be coaches or the SID, um, especially if like there's milestones coming up, or like I said before, if there's families that have never been to a game before, or from out of town, or things like that. I know one specific example was for gymnastics last year. They have a TV show on Fox. One of the episodes is revolved around Molly Arnold's grandfather, who was a veteran coming to the game, and a lot of what Molly Arnold does in her floor routine is centralized around um, giving credit and honor to the troops. Like she does a salute and she does a couple other things that, really pay homage to that. And so normally, you are going to have those kind of things from time to time that come up where you are going to specifically look at an athlete. Um, but I wouldn't say that would be your end all be all when it comes to filming. You definitely want to capture all of the moments that you can. Um, Golly, that dog going crazy. But yeah, there are going to be moments and times, and people are going to help you out with that, especially if you're newer to a team or not as comfortable with them. So
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting you talking about gymnastics. I know that the media for gymnastics is just insane in like the best way. When that like became a big thing at Clemson, did you find yourself having to do different techniques or like take different approaches, or was it kind of similar to what you were already doing with other sports teams?
so for me, I didn't actually have like when I first got here. I had originally had applied to be a part of the documentary team. And so those are the people that are going to film the shows. Basketball has a show, baseball is getting a show filmed right now. Gymnastics is on their season 2. And so most of my job when I first got here was just to edit, just to sit and edit and look at the footage. Um, and so that I think taking what other people have, filmed and putting a story together was huge. And that was a huge part of my growth here at Clemson. I don't know if this really answers your question, but working under Joe and John, John Bartman coming from Maryland, worked when Angel Reese was there, and now he's here at Clemson, directing the shows. And Joe Baker, who was he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. He has 2 Super Bowl rings, and being under them, I learned a lot. Whether that be editing techniques or looking at footage that was shot from somebody else. I think that definitely has given me an opportunity to look at college sports through a different lens, literally and figuratively. So
Awesome. Thank you, Tony.
no problem.
Hey Tony,
What's
I
going on?
just want to nothing much, man. I just want to touch back on the commercialization part of it all. Obviously, streaming is on the rise and a lot of digital media now, even Clemson Plus. So, do you think that videographers have any sort of creative freedom, or is it really restricted and kind of pushed to fit the commercial mold for certain media?
I'll say in my time here at Clemson, there are certain parameters that I do have to meet when it comes to color grading or captioning or things of that nature. When you're working for a TV show, such as like Building Legends with gymnastics, or I think it's called Road to Omaha with something, or something like that for baseball. Um, I think that you do kind of have to fit into their style. It's just like if you were to go work for Nike, you're not going to be able to just create something new. You gotta have to stick within their branding and what they've already had previously. But on the social side of things, that where I'm the head videographer for the 6 sports, I'm definitely free and able to put my own spin on things. Of course, there's still like parameters I have to follow. Like videos can only be but so long for different platforms. But that's really opened me up to be a lot more creative with my own style, and even fit what I do into what Clemson has going on.
Yeah. Does that freedom to do what you please and kind of put your own spin on it, does that make your job more enjoyable?
Oh, absolutely. I'll say, I mean, even without the job, like I was doing freelancing, I was working for my previous school, so like I'll sit down and edit for fun. Um, but I think that that now that they've not now that they but like moving from working from the TV shows to being on the social side of things, um, I feel like it's brought a new joy to just being at work and being around so many creatives. And I think that's the most important thing is when you're in a community like here at Clemson, um, and you see people with YouTube plaques, you see people with Super Bowl rings, you see people with Emmys. Um, it pushes you to want to do more. And I feel like that's something I can really express in my work now that I'm on the social side of things, for sure.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot of synergy going on with everyone you work with and even your higher ups too.
Absolutely.
Also, I wanted to touch on the weaponization of emotion.
Golly, you got all these questions. My fault. My fault. My fault. My fault. My fault. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like in your job, like I know you talked about like selling emotion and selling the story and creating the story. So do you feel there's pr pressure to focus on emotions, or is it just your knowledge that those things have to be focused on to create the story?
Well, I wouldn't say that there's any pressure. But when you're looking from the only measurable of seeing if we're doing a good job or not is literally the numbers on Instagram or Twitter or YouTube. Um, and you just have to know what is going to sell. And so knowing that emotions is a main driver of social numbers. Of course you have your highlights. But at the end of the day, you have a job to do, and the job is to promote the Clemson brand. And so, if emotion is what's going to push, the algorithms, or is going to push people to click on it, then that's kind of what you have to do.
Do you find that like there's one certain emotion that sells the most, or some sort of storyline with Clemson that sells the most?
No, I wouldn't say there's one particular like happy, sad, angry, all of those emotions. Shout out to Inside Out. Um, Thank you for laughing. I thought somebody would get it. I think that when it comes to emotion, um, hold on, repeat the question one more time.
Like, do you find that there's like one certain thing that people watch or sells the most? Like, I don't know, when someone gets in a fight with Cooper Flag at the Duke game, does that sell more than say like I don't know, someone else promoting Clemson Grit with a t-shirt or giving a fan his shoes or something like that?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that one does better than the other. I think anything that people can. Oh, that's where I was going. I forgot where I was going. When people can see that the athletes are human beings, um, that is what sells because you have that connection with them. When all you see is highlights and you see all these amazing things that they're doing, you can kind of get lost in the aspect of wow, they're really like they're so athletic, and like the average consumer isn't 6'5" and dunking from the free throw line. And so when you can show that someone's a human being, whether that's like you said, giving some shoes, or getting in an argument with someone on the court, or you know being happy that they won or sad that they lost. These are things that people can connect with, and that's what resonates with people, and that's what drives the clicks.
Yeah. I would have to say, like, I think that college athletics is really big on humanizing the athletes because I would argue that people in the NFL and the NBA, they're kind of seen as like, I don't know, like godly figures almost because they're at such a high level and they're almost untouchable that college athletics brings that humanizing factor, which is obviously pushed by the videographers and the editors such as yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I gotta say, I think we've learned a lot about using emotion. Obviously, there's plenty of emotions used in every game, every instance of every sport, and editing and videographers definitely play a huge role in pushing that and also molding into the commercialization. So you guys definitely have like freedom to do what you'd like, but also sticking with what sells and what the industry wants. So I appreciate your time. You've given a lot of great words and great remarks. I appreciate it, Tony.
All right. Wait, one question. Who is
Yeah,
just here to write their name on the project? All right,
I
my
don't think
fault. I
anybody.
was just trying to see. I was just trying to
Awkward
see. My fault.
silence.
My fault. My fault. No, y'all are great. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you,
Yeah, of course.
Tony.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Tony.
Tony.
All right.
That was good. He was actually really funny. He was very interactive. I would say he's probably the most like chatty and lively guest we've had so far.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, very personable.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he's super fun.
No, he seems like he has a very, like you said, managerial role, and like I like that he said that he has some sort of freedom to do what he'd like and put his own spin on things, and that like definitely makes his job more enjoyable for himself. Also, he obviously said that editing is fun for him too, so I would imagine that's why he's in that profession.
He seems like a fun personality to work under too. Like, is that your experience, Abby?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun like coming up with ideas and then also collaborating on videos. Like the rowing preseason hype video that came out I think about a month ago. We had worked together on that and we were outside like on the beach at Lake Hartwell at like 9, 10 at night when it was like 30 degrees outside filming this video. So
Oh
it's
my
just
gosh.
we get put in crazy situations like that sometimes where um you're out there super cold making these videos, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Would you ever go and try and like assume his role, Abby?
I would like to. That's kind of what I want to do like when I graduate possibly.
That's
Yeah, maybe
awesome.
we'll have to get him back on here again, give you a little interview or something like that.
Maybe.
Abby, do you ever interact with the people who I guess he works for, who are above him?
Yeah. Yeah, we're all like in the same office. So even like his higher ups are also my higher ups, so I go to them too for stuff. Um so everybody that like works for Creative Solutions, we're constantly like around each other because we have to collaborate on a lot of stuff. Um so yeah, everybody that works for them is like super personable, easy to talk to. Like it's just a fun work environment because you get to make videos for Clemson Athletics, but you also get to do it with like super cool people. So
Oh, Kenzie, by the way, that was a great question about the gymnastics aspect, like how it started up and like there was a lot of new ways to shoot things or edit things. I thought that was really, really good. I was actually going to jump in and try and say that we had a Clemson gymnast on our last episode, but you were on the ball, so I just let you roll.
Yeah, no, I was curious about it because I know when me and my teammates on the track team go to the gymnastics meets and we're like, this stuff they do for just the female athletes, because obviously it's only women doing it. And I feel like they do so much centered around them and the glamour and the film and the video. And like even when they walk out, like they have a whole thing that shows of them, like them in their media day footage and like sparks going off and stuff. And we just thought it was so cool as female athletes. It's a really cool thing to see.
I
Yeah.
actually got to work the track media day. I think it was last semester. I don't think I was there when you came through.
Oh my
Um,
gosh,
I
I
was
didn't
there
know
like
that.
earlier in the morning, but yeah. So I
Like
got
you
to
were in
work.
the indoor track?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was the
definitely
first
wasn't
time I had
aware.
been in there, so it was super fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't see you. There was like people in and out at so many different times because they spread us all out throughout days, so it's probably why. That's awesome though.
Yeah, yeah, I was at the video station there. We were doing like the different GIF things. I don't
Uh-huh.
remember all the poses we had y'all doing, but I remember this one. We had a lot of
Yes.
those.
It was fun. That was probably the most fun media day we've had, honestly.
All right, y'all. That was a
All
good
right.
good podcast. He killed that. We killed that.
Yeah, I think so too. That was good. All
All right,
righty.
y'all. See ya.
Bye.
Right.